Christian parenting.
Marriage is the foundation of our families. When our marriage is strong, our families are strong. When our marriage is struggling, our families struggle too. We all know we should prioritize our marriages. However, in the busyness of life, it is so easy to push our marriages to the side and say we will focus on that later. If you're feeling the nudge to invest in your marriage, Christian Parenting's newest digital guide, Marriage Simplified, is the resource for you. Additionally, if you're struggling with difficult conversations about divorce, blending families, in-laws, or single parenting, we cover those topics head on too. Inside this guide, you will find our best and favorite podcasts, videos, and articles on all things marriage. You will also find conversation guides and discussion questions for your spouse and your kids. The best part is, since this guide is digital, you can download it straight to your phone or your computer and search through the resources whenever you need. Marriage is far from simple. I can attest to that, and no guide can truly simplify it. But we are so glad that you are taking the time to pore over these resources and strengthen the relationship and family that God has blessed you with. You can go to cpgive.org to download your copy for just $5. That's the best of the best resources from top Christian parenting contributors for just $5. Again, that's cpgive.org. Hey friends, I'm Courtney DeFeo, and I am the host of Part of the Mess, but I want to tell you about the episodes and the series that we have going on this summer. It's one that we brought back from a couple years ago called Empty Nester Wisdom, and you all loved it, and I get why. There's not one mom out there that's like, no, I'm good, I don't need advice. Like, I love and you love to learn from moms that are ahead of us one season. And so it doesn't matter if you've got little kids or whether you're walking into the empty nester season of your life, you can learn something from every guest that's coming on the next 9 weeks. And we're kicking it off this week with Nicci Smith, who is Tanner's mom from Love on the Spectrum. So don't miss today and don't miss the rest of this series. I hope you enjoy. Hey friends, welcome back to Part of the Mess. I'm your host, Courtney DeFeo, and I am so excited about the next 9 weeks here at Part of the Mess. We are bringing back a series that you all loved. It's called Empty Nester Wisdom. And that's all I need to say, right? We're like, bring on the wisdom from the moms and the folks ahead of us a season. So it doesn't matter if you've got little kids in the home or whether you're entering the empty nest season and you're afraid, you will learn so much. So I would suggest getting a journal. Like, get a journal and just take notes, because there is nothing like sitting at the feet of another godly mom and just saying, what have you learned? What has God taught you? And so we are kicking it off with a very exciting guest. We've got Nicci Smith, who is the mom of Tanner from Love on the Spectrum. And if you haven't gotten to watch that show, it will just warm your heart. You will be so inspired by the gifts that these kids are in the world. And then you'll get to see on social media, if you follow Nicci and her family, just a beautiful example of a family that's following God and being so honest in their newfound fame and sharing a lot about their journey. And so Nicci is a mom of 4 kids. She's married. They live in South Carolina. And she is also the host of a podcast called Talk to Me Sis with Lisa, who is another mom from Love on the Spectrum. She's the mom of Connor. And so we are just going to scratch the surface today about autism and just her journey as a mom. But this episode is really for all moms. And so if you want to know more about her and her journey, you can go on over to her podcast. She talks there about his diagnosis and story she has on his siblings and their journey, and just so many more amazing guests. So you guys will love Nicci. You will want to do some push-ups later. If you watch it on YouTube, you'll see her arms that I'm like, wow, she clearly works out. I'm inspired for many reasons. But Nicci, thank you. It was a delight to have you, and I know you guys will enjoy this. Hey, Nicci, welcome to Part of the Mess. How are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm so glad to meet you. We have a little bit in common. We love the state of South Carolina. That's where we live, and my parents live there. So we love flying in from Texas into Greenville. It's just, we're like, look at all these trees. It's just trees.
Yeah, Texas is very flat.
Very flat, very flat. So for those that don't know you, can you just tell us, I'm surprised if people don't know you, but tell us about your family and who you are, just overview of your family.
All right. Well, I'm Nicci Smith. Obviously, I grew up in Illinois, actually, but I have been in South Carolina since I was 18. So I consider it my adopted home state. I've been here much longer than I was in Illinois. Love the South. My husband is from here forever and ever. Amen. Several generations back. He is a cotton, peanut, and cucumber farmer. So we are
Amazing.
rural South. We are big pro farmer, eat off the land kind of people. We have 4 children, and most people know the second one the best.
Yeah.
We have Taylor, my oldest daughter. She just got married. She's now Taylor Owens, and her husband Jimmy are expecting their first baby in November. So we're about to enter the world of grandparenthood. And then, of course, we have Tanner, who was on season 2 and season 3 of Love on the Spectrum. And he has autism and auditory processing disorder and sensory integration dysfunction. Then we have Madeline, who most people know better as Midge. She is a 1-year alum of Clemson University and a first grade teacher and still lives in the upstate. And then our youngest is Maverick, and he is 19 and a rising freshman at Montreat College, which is in Black Mountain, North Carolina. And I have been a stay-at-home. I was a nurse before I had children. When Tanner got diagnosed, the demands of motherhood and his therapy program just kind of took precedence. And I kind of let my nursing career go to the side. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 20 plus years and pretty much ran a very intensive therapy program for about 8 years of that in home. And actually, about the time Tanner got selected for the show, I was looking to re-up my nursing license because I was like, okay, Tanner's doing well. He's established. I'm ready to, kind of get back out there in the world. I had all the paperwork. I was getting ready to enroll in the refresher courses. And then Love on the Spectrum happened. And Tanner's life took this incredible turn that nobody, including us, ever saw coming. We never thought that anything would take off like it did. So I've pretty much been full-time working with him and helping him manage all the opportunities that are coming his way for the last 2 years.
What is that like? I mean, you're like just chilling and then all of a sudden, like y'all are legit famous. I mean, he's got like 1.6 million followers. So what is that? Give us the truth. What has that been like?
It's been, and people ask all the time, like, is it good for us? And I think because of the little blessing that I think Tanner has on his life. And honestly, I think it's a calling. It's been so positive. It's been unreal. I will say season 3 has been more intense, I think is a good word, than season 2 was. The show was bigger. It got, season 2 was bigger than season 1. Season 3 was bigger than season 2 as far as media exposure and just public response. And, like more money, more problems, the bigger you get, the more likely you are to face criticism and things like that. And autism's been a big hot topic in just out there in social media land. So there has been a few more difficult things to navigate since season 3, but it's honestly been just such an unbelievable blessing. I feel like, the verse about, he can do abundantly more than you can ask or imagine. And I just look at Tanner's life and I think this is the child that I laid awake at night and cried myself to sleep many a night because I felt like his life was going to be so limited, that his opportunities would be so few, that he may or may not have, good access to social relationships and friendship and potentially romance and all those kinds of things. And here he is and impacting literally millions of people all the time. And without even really knowing he's doing it, spreading the message of the gospel, spreading kindness, spreading joy, spreading goodwill, spreading simplicity. So it's been unbelievable. I mean, what we've pictured happening, and really, if there's so many rumors out there, we had no agenda with him getting on the show. I had never in a million years thought about modeling or acting or anything like that. But Tanner had started asking about dating and kind of showing interest in that. I'd always loved the show. I happened to see a casting call on Instagram. It was just a random thing one day. I saw they're like, we are going to be casting in the southeastern United States. We're going to be in Atlanta, Greenville, South Carolina, Charlotte, looking for new cast members. If you're interested, send your person's picture and bio in. I did, just on a whim. I didn't even talk, just like send it in because, of course, he's mine. I think he's adorable. So I sent in his picture. I sent in his bio. Thought it was kind of interesting that he was in a college program. That's not that many of them. That kind of makes him stand out a little bit. So I sent it in. Never thought I'd hear a word. I had an email that night that they wanted to do an interview. And so we went through the process. It's a long process. We did it. He obviously got selected, but what a lot of people don't know, and I think this would shock people, you go all the way through the filming process and there is no guarantee you're going to make the final edit. Like you really go all the way through. And they're like, well, we think you'll make it, but we got to look at what we do when we start the editing. We got to look at how everybody comes across on screen and how their story resonates and all that. So you really don't know until it goes to air, whether or not, very close to that, whether or not you're on the show. So then, we get the word that he made the final cut. He's going to be on this season. So we pictured he'll gain a few thousand followers on social media. And for maybe like 6 weeks, a couple months, people might look at him and go, haven't I seen you somewhere? Oh, and then it'll just fade away and be nothing. I mean, I watch reality shows all the time and I never think about those people once. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like after the show's over, sort of fades away. The thought of him continuing to have a public presence and the opportunities to speak and share about autism awareness and talk about special needs employment, which is our big hot button topic that we really want him to use his platform for, because we think it's so important. And Clemson Life and all him and all his friends who have come through the program are just, they're living it, they're doing it and showing what's possible. And if he can just do that, it just that alone, if he can show other families, hey, there are options out there for secondary education. There are employers who will employ your person, and give them a shot at having gainful employment every day and getting out of the house every day and going and doing something productive. We've won everything.
So good.
So yeah, we are shocked. We are still standing looking at each other with our mouths open like, what just happened? Really?
Well, he's so lovable. And I love this show because my nephew is on the spectrum and he is our crowd favorite. We're like, how could we all be like Jake? Like, he is just so grateful and so honest. And
so
my
sweet.
mom's like, he's the best person ever to have in the kitchen. Cause it's like, I love my toast. Meet you look so pretty. Like, I mean, he is so kind. And so when I saw those same similarities, I'm like, everybody needs a child on the spectrum in their family. It just shows you the pureness of their hearts and who they are. So he's delightful.
Thank you. And for me, like Tanner, all my children I have 4, obviously, and all of them sort of like represent a different aspect of faith and like understanding God's will and intention for our life. And they all represent something different to me. But Tanner, honestly, like I've always kind of struggled with my faith. I was raised in a very, very, very conservative Christian home. I've been in church since I was born. And, but for me, making it real, like having a really dynamic personal relationship with the Lord, it never came easily to me. And I'm just being real honest.
Good. Thank you.
I accepted Jesus when I was 8. I have no doubt of, my Christianity, but for it being like really real and alive in my life, it was always a struggle. It just was. I just had a hard time, like really feeling like it was real. And for me, Tanner is what did it for me because it was it was the thing in my life that I could not fix. I could not control. It was not going to get better. It was not going to go away. I either had to, woman up and deal with it and choose to find joy in it and choose to find the positive and trust that God had a greater plan, or I could let it ruin me. And it is a difficult thing. I mean, I don't think anybody would say that, you're going to get an autism diagnosis for your child and you're going to throw a party. No, you're not. You know what I mean? I mean, can it become beautiful? Yes. Are they beautiful people? Absolutely. They are the most beautiful people. However, does it bring with it a ton of extra hardship, a ton of extra things to learn, things to overcome, new realities to accept? Yes, it does. Does it change your life forever? Yes, it does. Do you have to accept an entirely different future than the one that you assumed your child would have? Yes, you do. And those are hard and humbling experiences. But as Tanner's life went on, and when I finally got past trying to control it myself and trying to fix it and trying to say, okay, if we just work hard enough, if we are just dedicated enough, we just love him enough, if we offer enough opportunities, he's going to be the one. He's going to be the one that all aspects of autism are going to be gone. He's going to make this miraculous recovery and graduate with all his peers and be just the same. He did graduate. However, not just like I thought he would. But when I finally realized that those things were not going to happen and that if I didn't just give him back, like I would never be happy. Yeah. I would never find peace. I would never be content. I would never truly be able to celebrate him if I didn't let him go.
I want to say this, y'all, this is just scratching the surface. As there's a spectrum, there is every single layer of complexities. And she really is. And you were really passionate about this. And it's why you have a podcast with another of the season, Connor. They're both breakout stars. You have a podcast with their mom. So we'll link to it, but I want to point people there because over there you talk about his diagnosis, you talk to his siblings, you talk to his dad. And so we're scratching the surface. So I don't want anyone to think this is a complete conversation on autism. So we want to point people there. But can you speak to the moms like my sister who are so fearful and they're scared and they don't know what's ahead? My sister has a great relationship with Jesus, but she said sometimes, I'm going to make me cry. She's like, sometimes it's like a dark closet I don't want to go in. And every now and then I'm faced with the reality of I don't know what's coming. And she said it can literally consume her. So speak to my sister and the moms like her.
Well, the first thing I will say is that I was right there for years. For the longest time, I think it was just an inward battle. I just felt so hurt. I just felt like, what did we do to deserve this? I felt a lot of shame and guilt. Like I thought, is this somehow my fault? Did I do something to make this? And I would rack my brain. I'd be like, I took such good care of myself. I did. You know what I mean? Like I was healthy. I was, his dad and I are together. We're doing everything for him. We love him beyond the ends of the earth. What could have happened to, for something to happen to him? I started realizing those thoughts, that's me. That's me thinking about me.
Wow.
I started realizing that's not me truly understanding that our children are not ours, that God gives you, and I'll cry too.
Yeah.
The child that you're meant to have, not the child that, you assumed you would have. And that's not a bad thing. We all do it. You don't mean to do it. It's not a conscious decision. As we went along, the only way I could find contentment during those dark years, and I felt like the dark years, to give a little hope, kind of came in phases. With Tanner's development, we would have a shoot ahead time. Like we would sort of like push forward and we'd have like this big, explosion of growth and maturity and skills gained. And I would be like, yes, we're going. And then we boom, run into a wall and we would stagnate. And I feel like that was a lot more pronounced with an autistic child than and I have others, typically developing neurotypical children. And so know that, it is a 5 steps forward, 3 steps back, 5 steps forward, 3 steps back. Puberty is hard with any child. Take that by a million with a kid on the spectrum.
Okay.
It was, and it just is, the hormonal changes and all the normal things that any child's going to go through during all those humongous fluctuations in their body and their physical chemistry are going to impact somebody who has neurological differences twice as hard. And then take into account that they very likely may not understand societal norms. They may not understand appropriate things. They may not have, the emotional and social maturity of other kids that are at that same chronological age. We really need to do a whole podcast. I did do a whole TikTok on that. If anybody wants to go back on my TikTok page, but we probably need to do a whole podcast on navigating the puberty years and not losing your mind.
Yeah.
But I really felt like when Tanner was in his early teens, and it was right after the puberty years, I had a moment where I just realized I'm never going to change this reality in his life. He will always, always be a person with autism. He will always have these differences. He will have these quirks. He will have these things to navigate. And this is obviously exactly who God intended him to be. And God's going to use him as an autistic man, not a typical man.
Yeah.
And until I let myself accept that and let go of the mental images that I had in my mind, I couldn't fully support him, celebrate him, push him forward with an open heart, if that makes sense.
Good.
I had to let go of all my agendas. I had to let go of it all. And that's hard. I am a control freak. I am a type A, energetic, let's go. I'm productivity oriented. I mean, I grew up with, old fashioned parents who gave us jobs and gave us stuff to do. And, we were not allowed to be lazy ever. So I take a lot of pride in accomplishing things. I'm a fitness person. I'm all about results. So for me to have and Mark and I laugh, my husband is that way, but a million times more. We laugh like, it's like God's laughing. You know what I mean? He's like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Let me give you something to really, refine your character. But the things that I have learned from Tanner and from parenting him is that, it literally took 20 years to see it. He was 20. I think when I really started to think, oh my God, he's really got something. Like he's really impacting people. He's really shining. He's really becoming his full self.
So cool.
20 years. He was 20.
Wow.
And so, yeah, to those younger moms, give yourself grace when you're in the moment, because it is a much harder road than neurotypical parenting. It is. And it's normal to feel that way. But I genuinely believe that the more you focus your prayer life and your energy and your own thoughts on saying, this is how God's going to use him or her because they have this, that this is what their testimony is supposed to be, instead of thinking about how to fix it or what the next step should be. And so many of our next steps were things that I would never have imagined. And they kind of came down the line and just sort of fell into our path when my heart started to open. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I think with any parent, I remember I've told the story a million times, but when we lived in Atlanta, there was like this cool preschool to go to. And I remember obsessing. That's like, okay, if I get in Ella in this preschool, then she'll get in this private school. And you think that one thing is going to impact the rest of their life. And I think that it is so easy for any parent, but especially a parent of a child on the autism spectrum, to go, okay, well, what is this domino effect going to look like? But I think that's the part of trusting God, to go like, we're doing the next best thing. We feel like you're leading us to this school or this home or whatever he's supposed to be, and not knowing what's coming has got to be thrilling and really scary.
It's scary and it's frustrating at times. And I can remember saying to Mark, like Tanner went to a specialized private school that catered to kids with learning differences. It's 45 minutes from our home. Wow. So like that's an hour and a half. And everybody else went to private school near our house is 3 miles away. So somebody had to get him to and from school every day, which is an hour and a half round trip twice a day.
Wow.
So, and every year, sometimes it would work for me to do it all. Sometimes it didn't, depending on everybody else's after school activities. So a lot of times we had to hire somebody to help me with the driving every year. A lot of times it would be like the week before school and I'd be panicking like I didn't have anybody. Somebody would show up.
Wow.
And the right person who needed a part-time job or who happened to be going to, to that city where that school was anyway, and they could grab him or bring him home for me. It always worked. And that was another like huge lesson in provision.
Yeah.
Like God's going to provide, like he's going to provide what you need. It's the being patient and the waiting and the trusting that is so unbelievably hard. And if you have a personality type like mine, it's definitely harder. But also another thing, like I would tell moms, and I'm dealing with this a lot, like in my life right now, your mom gut, I've never learned more from, and this is not to ditch doctors or therapists, but just saying who I've learned the most from over the years is moms, other moms.
Yeah.
I've had wonderful doctors. We've had wonderful teachers. We've had wonderful therapists, coaches. They're all wonderful. But who I have really learned the most from and gotten the most real valuable information is other moms. And I can also remember looking back, like if my mom gut was saying, we need to choose that therapist.
Yeah.
We need to go to that school. We don't need to do this anymore, or we need, whatever it was always right.
Yeah.
It was always right.
Isn't that the truth across the board?
Yeah,
Yay for moms.
Exactly. I don't think anybody is going to, even dad, I'm not at all to downplay a dad's importance, but like just be bond. And when one of your child has something that's wrong or harder or more difficult to deal with, that bond with that child, because you're going to protect them. I'm like to the ends of the earth.
That's right.
It does not matter. And like whatever you have to do to get best outcomes, you're going to do it. And I just remember being amazed sometimes how like we'd be like have two options and be like, oh, I don't really know. They both sound appealing, or this person is promising this, or this person is promising this result. And it was always so hard to know. And we definitely did some things that looking back, I'm like, that was a waste of money. We didn't need to do it. I'm like, I didn't need to try that dumb therapy. That was not even worth it. But when it came to the really big things, it was amazing. To moms, don't doubt yourself. You're his or her best advocate. You grew that child, or you adopted that child.
That's right.
You chose that child one way or the other.
Yeah.
No.
That's so good. Have you guys heard of the online learning program called IXL? My kids were actually required to do IXL as a part of their school, and they would roll their eyes when it was time. But I think they would tell you years later, and I would tell you, that it really worked and it helped them so much. They received the help they needed in subjects where they were struggling. And I know other parents at our school that used it for their kids that are ahead and they weren't getting challenged enough in the classroom. IXL Learning is an online learning program that enriches your homeschool curriculum and your child's classroom learning. It offers practice in math, English, language arts, science, and social studies while adapting it to each child. It meets them where they are. Plus, iExcel encourages students to be curious and empowers them to choose how to learn. And the best part is iExcel is easy for parents. Don't we need that? One site gets you all you need, and iExcel customizes learning for each child in your family and their specific needs. iExcel is organized by grade, subject, topic, and subtopic, and it makes it simple to find activities for the exact skills that you are covering. It also offers instant feedback and explanations of the topics as the kids use the program, which is super helpful. So you can feel confident as a parent that your kids will gain an understanding of the skills they are learning. Make an impact today on your child's learning. Get iExcel now. And Pardon the Mess listeners can get an exclusive 20% off an iExcel membership when they sign up today at ixl.com/today. Visit ixl.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price. You probably know Avocado Green Mattress for their certified organic mattresses. I've been talking about that lately, but did you know they also make unbelievably breathable natural bedding? From soft organic cotton sheets to light as air silk and lofty down duvets, their bedding is designed to naturally regulate your temperature and keep you cool, comfy, and sleeping soundly all night long. So listen up, hot sleepers, this one's for you. This bedding is perfect for hot sleepers in warmer months. Hello, Texas summer. Avocado sheets and duvet inserts are naturally breathable, and they help regulate your temperature so you can sleep cool, dry, and comfortable all night long. And just like those mattresses, avocado bedding is crafted from renewable, biodegradable materials with the highest social and environmental standards. So it's better for you and better for the planet. And beyond that sustainability, this bedding is designed to deliver luxurious comfort that will have you looking forward to crawling into your bed every night. Head on over to avocadomattress.com to save 10% on all bedding and 50% on clearance bedding. Avocado, dream of better. Okay, I'm going to get to a question about siblings a long way. But first, I'll tell you just context. So my family works with a ministry called Lighthouse Family Retreat, and we go love on families with childhood cancer. And one of the biggest part of that retreat and moment is loving on the siblings. And because what I want to say to you and my sister, and you talk about this on your podcast with your children, is like, you are not trying to overlook them. They are not trying to be overshadowed. But in cancer, when both parents are in a hospital with a child and you are driving and looking out for his needs, it's just inevitable. And so I want to ask you just like about that. But one moment that has kind of gone viral is Midge and Tanner were talking. And that was like the sweetest conversation to see their bond and watch her. And I'll link it to you guys. But he said something like, do I ask her about her diagnosis? And she said, like just their conversation, their eyes for each other made me cry. Cause it's like, they play such a special role, but speak to the mom of like, would you do anything differently? Or what would you say to the parents that do have siblings and want so badly for them not to be overlooked, but this is the reality of their growing up as well?
I think the one thing that maybe we did well, maybe above other things, we always spoke to our other children like adults. And we always told them, this is our reality. And even when they were little, we always said, life is not fair. Life is not equally divided, and your brother's needs are higher than yours. And they are. Like he literally cannot do things for himself that you can do for yourself. And we talked a lot about learning grace and compassion. And we talked a lot about learning that you're not the center of the universe. Yeah. And that part of being a mature adult is learning to share attention. We just kept that dialogue open all the time. Another thing that I found really important, and I just did it with two of mine the other day, is affirming them. When you see them going that extra mile, being patient when affected sibling is having a meltdown, sharing when, affected sibling wants all of the last of the dessert, you know what I mean, or whatever it is, or they don't understand it patiently, or watching a juvenile TV show because that's what affected sibling wants to do, taking them aside and saying, I saw you.
Wow.
I saw you. Like, I know I see what you did, and that was mature, and you are a wonderful sibling, and we are grateful to have you. And thank you for being a team member in this family.
Yeah.
We did a lot of that. And I think it really impacted how our kids viewed it. Like we didn't ever make it. And we made it more like we're all in this together. Like we're all here to help Tanner be his best self. Like, and I always told my kids too, and I really believe this. I'm amazed sometimes at how Taylor was the perfect oldest sibling.
Yeah.
She's always like another mother to Tanner. And it was sort of like the three of us, she and I and Mark were parenting the other three. Midge has stepped up in a way since they've been in Clemson alone together these last few years that has just blown my mind. I mean, because she is my effervescent travel, type 7 Enneagram. Let's go, have a great.
She's adorable.
She's precious, but she is literally like the safest place for Tanner right now, even more than me. Sometimes he adores her. She is patient with him. She is kind to him. She mothers him. And it's the sweetest thing because she's 4 years younger.
So cute.
And to watch her love on him like that. I'm sorry, 3 years younger. And then, for Maverick, we've always tried to have a really open dialogue with him about how his role as the youngest brother is very unique compared to most because he did not have a typical older brother experience.
Yeah.
I really think it's just the communication piece is what's going to get him through it and recognizing them. And we did do a lot of tag teaming, Mark and I, which I will admit probably wasn't the best thing for the marriage all the time because our time had to take a hit. But letting one of us taking Tanner and doing whatever, or like taking Tanner to the younger child's thing, and the other one going with no distractions to their athletic event or their social outing.
Yeah.
So that you wouldn't always have, because, when you have especially when Tanner was younger, he had a ton of sensory issues. So everywhere we took him was sort of dictated by how he was going to handle it.
Yeah.
Like what was too loud, what was too long, what would he eat? So we chose a lot of things depending on what Tanner would do or could tolerate. So we tried to make sure there were plenty of outings where he was not there. And we got more, and this was hard. It was really hard for me. I cried about it a lot. We did some things where we left Tanner with Mark's parents who lived right around the corner with Nana and Papa. Because once I started to realize he's not really enjoying some of these things.
That's
I feel
good.
like the whole family has to go because I was feeling bad. I don't want to leave him out. I want all 4 of my children there. But when I started realizing maybe for him, he isn't internalizing that as being left out. He isn't thinking this is my special night with Nana and Papa, and I don't have to go do that thing that is too loud.
Wow, that's great.
Crazy, and take the others without guilt because they need that time, and they need to be seen and they need to go at the rate that they can go sometimes. But it's also wonderful for them to learn to slow down and accommodate. But I think putting it in their mind that you were chosen for this role, like God put you to be here. And like I said, like Madeline has been the perfect person to step into Taylor because Taylor was always the one that was sort of Tanner's keeper. She was at Clemson with him first. And then she is older. So she graduated. Now she's married. Mitch sort of stepped into that role and has kind of taken over because they've been the two that are geographically living with each other. And then Maverick has just he boggles my mind how mature he is. Like kind of playing the older brother role, but he's 7 years younger. Because Tanner doesn't drive. And when Tanner's home, he's teaching Tanner things that probably Tanner would have taught him. And that's a beautiful thing. Like I would say to other families, what it's going to do for your children's character and their compassion for others and the kind of human beings they are. Because I don't mean this to sound braggy in any way, but I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, because people have come to me, ask anybody about my other 3 children, like what kind of people they are and like how they show up in the world. And I attribute so much of that to learning to sacrifice, learning grace, learning compassion, learning to love people who can't always love you back, learning to love people who aren't always fun to be around. And they had to do it from the time they were tiny, tiny little. And it's just part of who they are now. And
love that.
Cool. That is cool.
It
when
is
they
cool.
get older and you see that in them and you're like, oh my gosh, not only did it not hurt them, it actually made them better.
I agree. I think looking at Jake and our family, it's like, well, who would we be without him? Like
we say that all the time. We say that, who would we even be without him?
He's such a gift. Like he literally is the crowd favorite. And it is just such a blessing that he's in our lives. Okay. So as we round the corner, can you and you can talk about just your other 3 kids, but by the way, great names. I'm like, make a note for grandkids. Maverick is just so cute. Okay. So talk about what God is teaching you. And I know you have a unique story because you just suddenly went famous, but like, what do you know about yourself or about your faith that is unique to this empty nester stage? Because I'm a little terrified. Like I've got a sophomore, but I'm heading to a time. I've been a stay-at-home mom with some side gigs for 18 years. And so
Me
it's
too.
like,
Yeah.
I feel a little bit afraid. Tell us what God's teaching you.
That's how I was a stay-at-home mom with side gigs, because I always had the fitness stuff. And it's a daunting feeling. Like I was really feeling it before all this stuff was like, who am I? Like, if I'm not scheduling their days and, getting everybody's lunch ready and taking everybody to their activities and masterminding all of that, like, who am I? And it is an incredibly overwhelming feeling when you've been doing it 20 plus years. But I feel like what I'm doing now is like, it's time for me to look at myself differently and look at my relationship with my children and move into that friend advisor role and be good with that and put the decisions back on them. I've been really working, particularly with Midge. Like, she's in a place where she's going to change jobs, either go to a different school or potentially even get out of teaching next year. She has a few things, irons in the fire, and learning to move from being mom of all to friend advisor.
Wow.
Like, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. And, I'm very convicted lately about how lost your marriage can get. And I mean, Mark would say it too. I'm not saying anything he wouldn't say. Yeah. When you got a house full and you got special needs thrown in the mix and you're busy and you're going. I mean, I feel like that is where I really need to put my focus in the next couple of years. Our youngest has been the only child at home the past 4 years because Madeline's been up in Clemson. So we sort of had like an only child situation with him, and he's been the center and the focus. And we both have put a lot of our energy and time and attention into him. So now I'm like, that needs to go back to our relationship. We need to date nights. We need to get back into being more playful together and not just mom and dad all the time.
I agree.
I just, looking back 20 years, I'm just overwhelmed when I think like God has been so faithful to us. Like the birth order of my children, the children he gave us, and obviously everything that is like in such a big way being shown in Tanner's life, that God has a plan for each child. He is going to do something good with you. He is going to use your story for something good. And I know Tanner's is on a very magnified stage, which won't last forever. But while he has it, that's really what we want to send out. We just want other families to know, if you will just have faith and believe that there is a greater good coming from this diagnosis, eventually you will see the fruit. It might take 20 years. But
you're like, good news, bad news. It's coming. Right, but it could take a couple decades.
It literally did. I mean, it literally took 20 years. It really
amazing.
did.
One of the things, I wrote a parenting book. My kids were 2 and 5, which is absolutely hysterical, as if I had a clue what I was doing. But I look back at that, and I need to do this on this podcast, but it's so much of the language in there was like, I pray ... I hope ... And I was going to make a list, and I think it would be so fun for all of us to say, thank you, God, for like how many prayers he answered, how many things we didn't even pray for. That's like, you even like did the opposite of what I was begging for, because you know better for my life. And so it's a beautiful spot to kind of be looking back and be like, whoa, God is way better at managing this than I ever could have been.
So, I mean, I prayed so hard on my knees, crying for a cure fig, because back in the early 2000s, everyone was telling you, if you do the gluten-free, casein-free diet, if you do this, if you do that, you will reverse the symptoms of autism. That was ingrained, in the parents of that parents that are my age, whose children are now in their 20s. That was the rhetoric. That was like what we were being told. And I prayed for that. I prayed for him to be one of those kids. And the whole time God was like, nope, I've got bigger things for him, but he's going to do it as a person with autism. He's not going to do it as a person who overcame it. He's going to do it as a person with it. And it's just so amazing, to look back and think, I wish I had believed it sooner. I wish that I had put my faith and my trust there sooner. Eventually did, but
you got there.
I'm stubborn.
Hey, thank you just for your family. I just have been so touched by the way y'all are handling this. You're glorifying God. You're being honest, and you're using what you've been through and the platform you've been given to help others. And so, 2 things. One, I hope Jake and Tanner get to meet. And then, just lastly, where can people find you? Because you have so many great resources going on.
Autism is the main thing where we're trying to answer any of the questions that people have about Tanner's childhood, and I do that in partnership with Nicci Smith, who is Connor Tomlinson's mom. And obviously she's telling every part of Connor's story. We're also having a ton of amazing guests. And all the cast members, mothers from Love on the Spectrum are coming on. We're going to talk to Carrie Magro, who's a very prominent name in the autism world. We've got him on the docket. And then we're going to branch away from autism and talk about menopause and fitness and midlife and empty nesting and all those kinds of things. So that is a huge area of focus for me right now that I'm loving and having so much fun with. So I hope people will tune in. You can find Tanner anywhere. Tanner with the _tism is his handle on all social medias. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, and I have done a good bit on TikTok of sort of like Tanner's life.
Yeah.
If people are wondering about his past and all that.
Awesome. Hey, will you circle back what you learned about the marriage stuff? Because that is a sentiment we are all feeling like, shoot, we should have made this more of a priority. And how do you re-enter that phase? So once you get your footing, tell us what you're learning about that.
Give me a year. Maverick hasn't left yet. He leaves in August.
Okay, perfect. And a year from now, circle back to me.
Now, we'll come back and see where we are there.
Nicci, thank you. This is amazing. I appreciate you being here.
Nice to meet you. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Pardon the Mess. As always, we've got more encouragement and resources over at christianparenting.org. And you can also stay connected with us on social media at Pardon the Mess. And if you like this episode, I'd love for you to do two things. Press follow on whatever podcast platform you love, and also be sure to leave a rating so other parents can find us. Remember, you're never alone in this beautiful mess of parenting.
Hey, this is Steph Thurling, Executive Director of Christian Parenting and host of the Christian Parenting Podcast. Every month, thousands of parents read and listen to our podcasts, articles, and digital resources. Did you know that in the past 12 months, the shows on our podcast network have been downloaded over 4 million times? Each one of those numbers represents a life, and we are deeply moved that so many people are receiving accessible, trustworthy, and timely biblical guidance through our resources. If you have been impacted by Christian parenting, we would love to hear your story. Visit christianparenting.org/testimony to tell us about how Christian parenting has impacted your family and your faith. That's christianparenting.org/testimony, or just click the link in show notes.